change my filter. If you go to San Francisco, Oh, didn't know you could do filters. That's a nice filter. Hi guys, happy Sunday. I'm making a note of the early comers. Hello, oh yeah, Marianne. How are you? Hi, Wizzy on Air. Hi, Doze, are you? Just the two of us. We can make it if we try. Just the two, 3, 4 of us. It's Monday. Where are you? Where is here? You're in the future. Where is here? You are TikToking from the future. The Twilight Zone. South Zimbabwe. I'm not familiar with that flag. Excuse my ignorance. Kenya? Zimbabwe? Kenya? It's really bad. Hello, Brazil. Okay, good. I wasn't bad. Thanks for the gift. I am Nigerian myself, so I should know I should have known what flag that was. And thank you for the gifts. Hey. South Africa. All right. I feel ashamed. But now I know. So next time you can test me, I'll know. Thank you. Can't you see your username? Hold on. Arden Z33. Thank you. Hey, Caitlin. How are you? Hi, Graphic 83. Michelle got combos. I'm going to try to say hi to everybody before I start telling my story for the day, for the live. Hello, Jimmy Bow 69. Hello, Graphic 83. How are you guys? So good, thank you. That's good. That's good to hear. Can you talk a little about the idea of the future influencing the past, the present? I can. It's not ignorance and no need to feel ashamed. Well, thank you. Thank you. Paramedic just got off another crazy 48-hour shift. Good. Hope it wasn't too stressful. No, you're not late. It just started. I actually tried to start earlier, and my network connection was bad, so I had to log off. So if you try to get in earlier and you're like, what's going on? My bad. A few pips know all the flags. Yeah. I know Nigerian flag. And that's it. But yeah, no, I should do better. Thank you for your kindness. Appreciate it. Glad you made it. I'm glad you made it too. Thanks for stopping by. Oh, thank you. I did. Pretty much any painting you see on my videos, I painted. Pretty much every painting you see on my videos, I painted. Yes. So this series, I don't know if you can see. I'm afraid to touch my phone because I feel like it's going to shut down. But this series, you can get a better view of them. Scratch my brain, please. You can get a better view of my paintings on my Instagram, which is linked in my bio. My Instagram, I have a lot of my paintings listed on there, and then my website as well. But they look better in person. I've been painting for about 17 years now. 17 years? Yeah. 17, 18 years now. So for a while. I used to just paint maybe once a year. I'd sit and do a painting, maybe twice, 2 paintings a year. But over the last, you want to talk about the past? All right, guys, story time. There's enough people here for me to jump in and tell the story of how I started to sense that my future self was influencing my past. So I'm gonna tell you guys a lot of like personal kind of details about my life. Not like too personal. It's not that kind of. The first thing I painted was a self-portrait, which I'll have to find it and show you guys. It was painted in the style of Picasso's The Old Guitarist. I was a very what do they call? I was very emo. I was an emo kid, so everything that was like dark and like moody, I was all over that when I was in high school. So I did a self-portrait and the painting of Picasso. No, sorry. Yeah, Picasso's Old Guitarist. I believe it was Picasso. Yeah, it was Picasso's Old Guitarist. So that was the first thing I ever painted. And find your skill. Would you just draw? No, I don't draw. I would just pick up and paint. And I don't sketch. I just sit and paint. Found you via the Time Machine videos. I wasn't a goth. I was just like an emo kid. Like I was all about. Like I watched like I would listen to like, I'm not a perfect I was like that kid. I was just very like angsty and like life is just like, what is life? Like, I am 35 years old. Yeah. I have to like think about that because I don't feel it. I feel like I'm like 300 years old. Maybe I am. Anyway, God, it's hard to stay focused because I want to answer everybody's questions and I don't want anybody to feel left out. But yeah, so I was like that kid. And when I first decided to paint, I was like really drawn to like Picasso's like earlier works, especially his blue period, because they were super like moody. And so I decided, okay, I'll paint myself in like the old guitars. If you guys can find it, it's beautiful. It's like all blue and like moody. How many years in the light though? Yeah, that's a deep question. Yeah, that's a deep question. I don't know the precise answer to that. I did not go to art school. No, thanks for the fire. I am self-taught. I went to school for psychology and I minored in anthropology. And so, yeah, I have to think about my age to answer. Yeah, it's like, how old is your physical body? I was born in 85. I entered into this reality in 1985, the best year 80s babies say hey. I am married and I do have a kid. Yes. Mama. So when I first started, thank you. When I first started, did you say boo? Boo, you have a family, you suck. Like what? But yeah, when I first started my TikTok, I had it as Auntie Jolie because I feel like I'm everybody's like aunt, so you can call me Auntie Joe. I like that. Psych major, you don't sketch, just paint. Yeah, same. Like, what's the point of sketching? Just go out and do it. Like, even when I paint, like, I don't, like, do rough drafts. I know you're supposed to, like, have, like, a small painting where you, like, try and then you just practice that over and over again. No, fuck that. Like, I just sit and I'm like, we're painting. This is what we're going to paint, and whatever happens, happens. And it usually works out. But, guys, I want to tell you... oh, okay, I thought you were saying no, as in me being married with kids. I'm like, sorry. I'll try to just die alone. But yeah, so my future self. So guys, so personal stories. So when I was in college, what was my childhood family like? My family's dope. My parents are awesome. I have an older brother. He's on TikTok. I don't remember his username. I think it's like Clever Fox. But he's like the coolest older brother. But everybody always thought I was older because my soul is older. He's got a very young soul, my older brother. So I guess physically he's older, but our souls are different ages. So, but, I grew up in Nigeria. I was born and raised in Nigeria. I moved, focus grasshopper. I know, I want to make sure that I answer everybody's questions. So, I watch behind your eyes. My brother's TikTok is Clever Fox, but he's not like me. Like, we're different. He's not, so FYI, if you're, he's cool, but he's different. We're not the same. Thank you. I watch behind your eyes. Have you ever astral projected? Not intentionally. No. Ghana, what's up? Ghana. It's you're on Twitter. I'd love to introduce you to a bunch of African and Black artists. That's what's up. I am on Twitter. I barely use Twitter though. What's your favorite subject matter? Black women. Like that's all I paint. Like I said, check out my Instagram. Jolie Artist. Yeah. Jolie Artist, all one word. That's my Instagram, and that's all I paint. Well, not specifically just Black women, women of color. So, future self. Okay, thank you for getting me on. Okay, here we go. So, like I said, I'll find it and I'll like send it to you. My brother's TikTok. So I started painting when I was 17. I took one art class, the only art class I am actually a model. Yeah. Okay. Like you guys, like, let me tell the story. I'm trying to focus. Stop asking me questions. All right. Okay. When I was 17, I took an art class. And the reason why I took this art class was because I had already gotten into college. I actually had several scholarships as well. And so it was like my last semester of my senior year. And I decided I'm just gonna take blow off classes, and one of the classes I took was art. And because I was always like naturally good at art, so I took like home ec, I took chorus, I took art, like stuff that I knew that like, you know, I was gonna get like the straight A's by the time I went to college. So that's what I did. And then I would just paint, like I would paint like 1 or 2 paintings a year, like I said. And then when sadness, guys, brace yourself. After my junior year of college, now these are facts. I have no reason to make this up to you. It is what it is, okay? But here's the story of my life. I had this dream. And in the dream, it was a very vivid dream. I was in this like marketplace in the Middle East. And I was walking, it was very busy, and I was walking to the center of the marketplace. And when I got to the center, there was a whale. And I don't know if you guys ever saw the movie Life of Pi, where they showed like the sea creatures, whatever, and they had like that sort of like iridescent kind of glow to them. So this whale was sick, and it had like I forget what it's called, bioluminescence, right? So the whale had this like bioluminescent sort of film on its skin, yeah? But it was sick, okay? So I went to go and like try to heal the whale with my hand, and I went to touch it. And the whale splashed me in my left eye. And when I woke up, hand to God, when I woke up, my vision, my like right here, center vision, completely grayed out, couldn't see. I went to the emergency room because if you wake up and you have lost your sight, right, you should probably go get that checked out. So I went to the emergency room, and they diagnosed me with something called optic neuritis, which is basically an inflammation in the optic nerve, and it was in this eye. And no, actually, it was the right eye. Start with the right eye first. And so I lost part of my vision from here to here. Couldn't see, grayscaled, and couldn't see the color red. They wanted to like inject me. Sorry, it's a little difficult to talk about it because then it happened to this eye, but I'm not going to get too far ahead of myself. So they wanted to inject me with steroids and everything like that. There was no cure. They were concerned that maybe I had like optic neuritis. I'm sorry. Optic neuritis tends to be a precursor to multiple sclerosis. So they diagnosed me with optic neuritis, but they thought that I might have had MS. So they did the brain scans and everything, and thankfully there was no inflammation in the brain. Yes, it was an optic neuritis, so an inflammation of the optic nerve. There was no inflammation in the brain, but they were like, well, we don't know what caused it, so, you know, sorry, deal with it, stress or whatever. And so I dealt with it, and I just sort of, you know, when I would close, you know, one eye, I would notice that, okay, I can't see very well at this eye. So I just stopped closing the one eye and just ignored the problem and just, you know, went about with life. Then a few years ago, probably 6 years ago, this eye got affected. And it started like as a single spot. It wasn't like like this eye where it was like the dream and I woke up and it was like, you know, I guess overnight kind of thing. It was steady. And even the neurologist was like, we don't know what's causing this, right? So it was just as I would, like, each day, I was very intense. I was a very tense person, right? Like, very passionate, like, so, like, everything, like, I had to, like, just be, like, in control of everything all the time. And when things didn't go my way, like, I guess I didn't like it. And so I internalized a lot of the pain and anger or whatever, and it was affecting my sight. So, I ended up, it started off just like a speck of like a vision loss, and then it expanded and it expanded and expanded, and to the point now all of a sudden my center of focus was gone, right? Same thing with this eye. This eye ended up healing, but I can still hear in this vision, it's like grayed out. So went to all of these, like the top neurologists, in California or whatever. I flew to the Mayo Clinic. They did all this stuff and tested me for all these things, and still they were like, you don't have MS, which is good. They tried to say I had something called Devick's disease, but Devick's is worse than MS, and I'm not going to accept that. So I didn't. And long story short, I sort of sorted out what was the cause, and I took care of it on my own, more or less. And the vision is slowly coming back. Now, here's how I tie in the future influencing my past. It was a day when I was sitting and I was just sort of like watching TV, and I was hit with this like vision. And bear in mind, you guys, I'm saying like I would only paint like one painting a year, maybe two a year, okay? And I was just sitting, and all of a sudden like I was hit by this vision, and I saw myself alone in like old and alone in a dark room. So I was old and alone in a dark room, and it was like a vision of my old self, and she looked right at me. And in this room there was like nothing. The walls were bare, and the room was kind of dark. I could still see it. The room was dark, and it was just me, old, in this bed, and there was nobody around me. And she looked at me, and I almost got this sense, like a communication, like, you need to paint. And I was like, holy shit. And from that moment on, I was like, okay, I'm gonna change that. It was like I saw an outcome, a future outcome of like, if I continued down the path that I was on, if I continued down the path that I was on, right, that's where I was gonna end up. Basically, like I like the information came through, and I was like, that was it. And that was like the first instant of my future influencing my past, was me seeing that. And I got this like message. It was like telepathically. I can't explain it. If I say telepathically, then people, have their issues. I can only tell you what my truth is. And so I got this information that was like, you need to go on a different path, because this is the outcome. So when I say I got to it from that moment on, if I miss a day of painting, it's only because I almost like have to, like I'm just like physically exhausted, and I can't keep going. But I paint now about 5 to 6, 7, 8 hours a day. And as a result, in the last few years that I've started painting, I have a lot of paintings. It's just boom, 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 boom. I think I do, and these are all paintings, right? So I'm doing about now 3 to 4 paintings every month. But that was my first interaction with my future self, essentially saying, look, this is your path. And then once I started painting, I would think back to my future, and the image started changing. And all of a sudden now it was me old, right? But now there's paintings everywhere, and there's people everywhere, and there's loved ones everywhere, and I'm still old and dying, right? But it was my deathbed in the future, so to speak, but it was drastically different, and there was color and there was art. So now I know that what I'm doing is shaping, like I'm consciously shaping my future experience, if that makes sense. So that's basically one of my, I guess, stories of my future self actively influencing my past. Hold on, guys, 1 second. It's cold. I need to shut that door. Hi. So, thank you. So that's one. If you guys listen to my podcast, I have 2 podcasts. One of them is called The Dark Oracle's Guide to the Multiverse. And that's just 15 episodes, like an anthology. I recorded what I needed to record. It is basically operates off the premise that we are living in a simulation. This vision, it's coming back. So it's not 100. So, and I have to close this eye to check. But it's, thank you. But you know, it used to be like this and then this and this and this. And then I would look and it was all like gone. The vision was gone. But now it's like, it's better. It's getting sharper and everything. So that's all good. I just make sure, for those who are curious, I take a lot of anti-inflammatories because it is, you know, anything that ends with itis basically means inflammation. So, and then I try to avoid consuming foods that trigger inflammation. And I meditate now, and I have really, you know, when I post these videos, okay, I am the primary viewer of my videos, because I need to remind myself of a lot of the things that I talk to you guys about. So, so when I say, for example, you know, if somebody comes around and they want to have a conversation with you, and you're trying to have a good day, and then somebody comes and they're like, "Fuck you and your day," and you want to react, okay? And I say in these videos, don't react. Pause and choose your responses. I'm talking to you guys, but I'm talking to myself first, because there was a time when somebody would say something to me and I would have something to say. Like, you're not gonna disrespect me, right? That was the old me, right? You're not gonna disrespect me, and then I don't like have something to say to you. So, but when I would do that, when I would react in that way, when I would behave in that way, I found that I suffered. You know what I mean? I suffered as a result of other people. Do you ever see that vision of your future self? Yeah, so like I said, so the vision of my future self that caused me to start painting now has changed. So I'm no longer, when I look to that self and she looks back, and that's just my first experience. It's gotten a bit stronger now. But yeah, the image is different now. It's surrounded by art and surrounded by people, and it's a bright, beautiful, brilliant future. So take from that what you will. The reason why I put out these videos, like I said, I am the primary consumer of my videos. Somebody said, "Hail Satan." Okay, I am the primary consumer of my videos because they are meant to sort of help me maintain a certain level of peace and calm. And so when I first started doing the videos, and I would kind of talk to my friends about that, they would say, like, who is this going to really appeal to? Because I'm talking about some wild things, guys, as you know. And I said, well, I don't think it really needs to appeal to anybody but me, because if nobody else watches, you guys have seen that kind of ongoing meme, like, oh, who are you making these videos for if nobody's watching? I'm making them for myself, because a lot of these things, like, you know, you sort of know them in here. You know what I mean? You have the head knowledge of things, but sometimes when it comes to practice, right? It's kind of difficult. But when I watch my own videos, I go now, and I go, okay, and it watching it on the loop, it almost becomes second nature, right? So, for example, there's a video that I I like that. What does it say? After abuse, I speak up now. Say you're not going to disrespect. That is your past self. What do you do? Can you rephrase that? But for example, there's one video, it's one of my favorite videos, and I use it every day, is if you can choose, okay, so most of the time, right, you guys sit and listen to the mental chatter that's in your brain. Pause and actually, like, sit, right now, pause and sit and listen to the mental chatter that's operating in the back of your mind. It is negative for the most part. And it's just imagining all the worst possible things. It's just like, oh, this is going to happen. And then this is going to happen. Oh, that person, they meant this, and da-da-da-da-da. And what I said was, look, if you can imagine, right, the worst, which is what your brain is doing, it's just creating sort of negative scenarios. You can use the same brain. You can use the same mind to imagine the best, right? So it's both, they're both, you know, imaginations, right? So if you can think all these horrible things, why not use that same brain to imagine the best possible things? I use that actively. I use that every day. Because in the past, I used to be just like really anxious. And what is anxiety? if not just imagining all the horrible things that could happen, and then your emotions, right, running with it. And so now, before you know it, you're reacting to, mental constructs, like stories that you made up in your head, right? So to me, if I'm going to make up, negative scenarios that are going to cause me to suffer, right? Because that's what anxiety is. That's what it's fear. Your brain's just dreaming up all of these sort of negative scenarios that then you emotionally react to visions in your head. So if I can make up these negative scenarios, if I can create these negative scenarios, right? Creating is therapeutic. Okay, so if I can create a negative scenario in my mind, which is basically anxiety, right? Fear, right? You're just creating horrible things. You can also use that same mind to imagine beautiful things. And when you do that, like, watch your life change, right? Oh, okay. So you ask, in my past, I would say, you're not going to disrespect me, and it hurts. So what do I say now? Okay, so if I'm in a situation, perfect example, guys. Today, guess what I did today? So today I was invited, story time. I was invited to show my art, right, at a, is that an apple? I was invited to show my art at a gallery. Yes, creativity, zone of tranquility, Zen. I was invited to show my art at a gallery. Okay, so you guys stay with me. And then showing my art at a gallery became showing my art in front of the gallery. All right, and I was like, okay, that's not necessarily what I wanted to do, but it's fine. Well, we'll work up to that. So I took all of my art, and not all of them, right? I took a big piece, a big painting, and small little pieces, and put it in the truck, went to the gallery, set up my art. And as I'm like trying to set up, there was like a bench that was in front of this like store that was supposed to be closed. So I grabbed the bench, and now bear in mind, the whole time I'm doing this, I'm thinking in my head, I really don't want to be outside, like, in a parking lot. It's hot. Like, it was hot today. And like coastal, like, like San Diego is not usually this hot, but it was hot. Like, I was sweating. And I'm thinking, like, this is not really what I want to be doing with my Sunday, but that's fine. So I grabbed the bench because there's nobody there, right? The store in which I grabbed the bench from was closed. So I grabbed the bench and I set up my painting, and then I set up my little pieces, and I'm still in my head thinking, like, I thought I was actually going to be in the gallery, and you guys really have me out in the parking lot. All right, that's cool. I'll make the best of it. It's all right. I'll talk to people. It's fine. And then the lady who whose store that I took the bench from, and it's just, the bench is sitting outside. I didn't think it belonged to anybody. It was just sitting outside. So the person who I took the bench from, she shows up, and she like starts opening her store, and she thinks like I'm sitting, I guess, and she thinks like I'm a patron. And so she's like, oh, I'll be right with you. And I was like, no, it's fine. I'm just, just waiting, whatever. And then she goes, oh, wait, like, are you set up like to sell your stuff here? And I was like, I'm not even trying to, I'm just displaying my art. Like, it is what it is, like, it's not, I'm not even trying to sell anything. Like, I don't have a card reader. It was just, hey, look at my art, guys, kind of thing. And she was like, that's my bench. And I was like, all right, bro, you can take your bench back. I don't care. And she lost it. She lost her mind. Like, and so I'm standing there, and this woman's like just losing her shit all over a bench. And I was like, yo, I'm not going to eat your bench. Like, you can take your bench. I will give you. So I'm taking my stuff off and I didn't have that much stuff, guys. Like I said, it was literally just to show my art. Like, I wasn't trying to I didn't have a reader, a card reader. I wasn't trying to sell it. I probably would have even given away pieces. Yeah, she was. I probably was going to give away my pieces. It's not that serious. There weren't pieces that I was even like emotionally attached to. And I'm that kind of person where if you like came up to me and you're like, oh my God, I love your art, I probably would have been like, here, take it. Like, I don't care. They weren't like serious pieces for me. I had some mushrooms that I had sculpted out of clay. and they had like faces on them. So I was like totally like, that was the energy that I was in. Like that was my vibe. And she just came and like attempted to like defecate on my day. And guys, like I need you to understand something, okay? Yeah, it was deeper than the bench, like for real. And look, that's her spiel. But she really was attempting, like she was just like, she was losing it. And I was just like, okay. Now, I want to set the scene up, guys, okay? Listen. You guys cannot tell because I'm sitting on a bench right now. I am 6'1", okay? I'm not a tiny person, okay? So in real life, I have a bit of a presence, all right? And then this lady that was coming at me, she is not 6'1". She was like 5 foot nothing, okay? So a tiny little thing. And she was like, ba-da-da-da-ba-da-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba. And I was like, yo, why are you talking to me though? And I was sitting here and I was like, what is the meaning of this? Because I always try to find meaning in everything that is happening, always. And so I said to myself, I didn't bring my art here to be yelled at. Like, this is not the purpose. This is not what I was intending to do with my day. So what is happening here? What am I supposed to learn from this? And so as she's going off, I'm a Virgo. As she's going off, my mind is like trying to like understand, what am I supposed to learn from this? And then I'm just breathing. Like I'm like, right? Because now old me, like 7 years ago, me would have like, I would have gone off. Because why are you talking to me? Who are you? Like, it's a bench, relax. But I'm not that person anymore. And I work really hard, guys, to not be a reactive person, right? So my videos aren't like bullshit. I'm not telling you things that I don't subscribe to. I meditate every day for at least 2 hours, okay? So I'm not gonna do all of that, put in the work, reading these books and all of that. And and the analyst, yes, I'm sitting here trying to analyze the situation. You know what I mean? Like, and that was it. So I was like, okay, so what is going on? So somebody just said there were agents. And I literally had to like take myself out of the situation. Like, okay, what's going on here? Because this is not, it's not about the bench. And what I realized was, now this is deep, guys. What I realized was Joe. That's why I call myself Joe. You guys can call me Joe. But only people who show up in my lives can call me Joe, okay? I'm just kidding. But what I realized was like, it's not her. It's not about the bench. It's the universe is talking to me through her. And the universe is trying to say, you're not supposed to be in this parking lot with your art. Like, you're better than this. And I took the message and I was like, hey lady, like go ahead and take your bench. Like, it's all good. Right. And that's it. And she was still going. And I was like, I'm going to leave. It's cool. Like, don't worry about it. I went to the gallery owner who had me standing in the sun, like sweating my ass off. And I was just like, hey, I'm going to leave. Thanks for the opportunity. And she like waved me off. She was like, and I was like, all right, cool. So I take my stuff and I'm driving back home, and I turn and I see another gallery. And I was like, hey, I'm gonna go talk to that gallery. So I have my husband like drop me off. Like I was like, here, I'm running. So I jump out of the car. He stopped. I didn't jump out of a moving car. I got out of the car and I put my mask on and I walked straight into the gallery. And I was like, how do I show my art at you guys? And they were like on the main street. So the gallery that I was at before that had me like trying to show my art in the parking lot, they were like off in the darkness somewhere. Like it was like you couldn't even find them. This gallery was like right in the center of the street. So I was like, bet. So I walked in and I was like, how do I show my art at your gallery, right? And they were like, show us your art. I was like, bet. I pulled out my Instagram. I showed it to her. They were like, wow. And I was like, also, I have all of my art in my truck. So next thing you know, the lady's like, pull up in the parking garage in the back, and I've got this huge painting, you know, on my husband's truck, and I've got all my little pieces that I bought to, you know, I brought to show, find the message. So I had all these pieces that I brought, you know, to show at this like off the beaten track like gallery, but it was like perfect. It was like if the skies parted and the light shone upon, I was like, oh, okay, cool. But she was like, this is absolutely perfect. The next thing you know, she's like, I'm gonna follow you on Instagram. She's like, you know, we're gonna get your show going. Like, what's your information? Like, this is exciting. And I was like, bet. And basically, I came home and now I'm talking to you guys. So it was a choice between standing in the sun in a parking lot where I didn't really want to be, or being inside in a different gallery that were like, we will gladly show your stuff. Not only show your stuff, but they're like, we will give you your own show. Like, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. Thank you. So that's a very long way of answering the situation, or answering the question of like, what would I have done? You know, what do I do now when I'm like, you know, faced with somebody? This just happened today, guys. Like, I don't know what time it is, but it definitely just happened today. I went into the gallery with my Twilight Zone shirt on. Like, it is what it is. So yeah, alchemy, right? You know, they when you think alchemy, you are taught, or at least most people understand alchemy as turning base metal into gold, right? The universe told you to show you, right? You got to listen, right? But when people talk about alchemy, it's about they usually think about turning base metal to gold. And then there were like full-blown alchemists who their practice wasn't about physical, like material alchemy. They were talking about mental alchemy, right? How do you take something base metal, right, and turn it into something beautiful? And you guys really need to get in that practice, right? Because like if you start approaching life like that, watch what happens. I'm not trying to be like a motivational speaker. I feel like my lives always kind of turn into this thing where I'm like, yeah, but I'm not. This is my life. This is real talk. And I could only share with you, you know, my experience. And I hope it, you know, it changes or helps you. But alchemy. So I had a situation which, pardon my French, was shitty. And I could have taken that situation and been like, you know what I mean? Or, you know what, good point. Please repeat that point. Repeat that one more time. Okay, so let me try to repeat. So alchemy, most people when they think about alchemy, they think about transforming, and they say it's, you know, it's not possible. You take a base metal and transform it into gold. Exactly. Look, let me tell you guys real quick. If what happened in that parking lot, I'll go back to the alchemy point, but he or she just made a good point. The universe does conspire to help you if you pay attention, and you gotta matrix that shit. Like when the bullets are coming in at me, you gotta be like, what? No, miss me with the bullshit. Anyway, but yeah, I was in a situation that I probably shouldn't have been, because at the end of the day, my work is better than it. I shouldn't have been, you know, showing my art in a parking lot. This is real talk. And when you're in a situation where you're not supposed to be, like, you got to listen, because the universe, like, even if it's some tiny person, little person yelling at you, like basically saying, you're not supposed to be here. Because she was literally saying, like, you're not supposed to be here. Now, I could have taken that emotionally and been like, wow, like, really? Like, whoa, like, personally, like, gotten angry. But as she was coming at me, I was like, yeah, but she's right though. Like I'm not supposed to be here, right? So it's like, all right, so where am I supposed to be? Because like I said, I didn't pack up, I didn't start my day, you know, and for this. So what is it that I'm supposed to be doing here? You know what I mean? I was doing that with my creation. It took me a while to understand alchemy. Alchemy, guys, like I guess that's the message for today. It's alchemy. You got to figure out a way, right, to turn base metal into gold. And I don't mean physical base metal. I don't mean like, okay, I'm going to sit in my lab and mix stuff up and I'm going to be rich, right? No, I'm talking about like any situation that you find yourself that's literally like shit, excuse my language. I have a potty mouth, guys. I'm sorry. Like, I'm actually trying to hold it together. I do have a bit of a potty mouth, but, you know, I'm trying to be respectful. I don't know if this kid's watching, but any situation you find yourself in, you know, we are programmed. And when I use the word program, I do mean it literally. When I use the word program, I mean it literally. We are programmed to react in very specific ways, right? So if I was unconscious, right? If I was unconscious, facts. If I was unconscious, okay, and I was in a situation like that, right, and somebody was attacking me, right, a programmed reaction would have, a programmed response, right, would have been to react, right? Somebody's yelling at you, react, right? Turn around and yell back, right? Somebody's in your ear, cuss them out, right? That's because that's what you're programmed to do. So it takes you to consciously, that's how I feel. It takes you like consciously. I use the words consciously, intentionally as well in my videos, okay? You really have to be present. You have to take over from autopilot, come in there and be like, no, what I'm not going to do is do what everybody else would do in this situation. I'm going to say it again. What I'm not going to do is do what anybody else would do in the situation. Because then how am I in control? How can I say I have free will? If this lady, I look, guys, okay, when I started today, what I said what I was going to do was, okay, I'm going to have a good, beautiful day and I'm going to show my art. Okay? That was my intent. Now, this lady came in there and tried to throw me off what I intended to do with my day. And I could have let an external circumstance throw me off my intended goal. But then, where am I exercising free will, right? How is that exercising free will? If I just go about reacting to things, how can I say that I have the freedom to exercise free will? I'm not going to do what anybody else, including my old self, would do in that situation. I'm not. And so I didn't. So she was in there, she was with the noise, and I was like, bet. And she was like, you're not supposed to be here. And I was like, bet. Look, it's hot as hell. Like, you're absolutely right. I'm not supposed to be here. I'm not supposed to be in the parking lot. Like, I was supposed to be in this gallery, and now you guys have me outside of this gallery, and now I don't even have a bet. Like, yeah, you're right. I'm too good for this. Guys, you have to be like that. Why not? Why settle? So the gallery that I want to be in, that was the one that I was like, yo, hey, guys, what's up? Come look at my art. And it worked out. It worked out. So I will answer that about my meditation. Thank you for that one. Yeah, you're welcome. It worked out. So back to alchemy. Any situation you find yourself in, it's hard, guys. Like, because look, like I said, I'm 35 years old. I have beautiful 2-year-old. Today both were off. I like your words. Thank you. I'm 35 years old. Okay? These are hard habits to break. So I'm not about to sit here and be like, oh, this is so easy. It's just like, oh, I'm so zen. And like, ah. No, like half the time, you know, I can handle it, right? I get in a situation and I can be like, all right, bet, move that to the side. I can tell you it has gotten much easier from me practicing the art of meditating every day. Okay, so that has helped a lot. But there are some times when I catch myself like in a situation and I want to react like it's coming. You know what I mean? Like I'm okay, reel it back in, right? You catch yourself but the key is that you're catching yourself. Because there was a time where I wouldn't catch myself. There was a time when whatever is happening is affecting me. Doesn't matter, right? I wake up and I'm determined, like to requote my own video. It is a daily practice. I wake up and I'm determined to have a good day. And then somebody comes through and they're like, hey, are you happy? And then you're just sitting there like, really? Now, what would you do in that situation, right? You turn around and you're like, react, right? React. You feel the emotion before you can even process what's going on. Somebody says something, right? And you feel the emotion. Appreciate you. It's true. You laughing, but it's true, right? Nobody wakes up like, you know what, I'm going to have a fucked up day today. Like most of the time, right? You're waking up like, I want to have a good day, right? And then somebody's like, hey, my day sucks. I'm about to shit on yours. And the next thing you know, you're like angry. Okay? Why do I have to be angry? Because you're angry. Keep that over there, bruh. Like you guys, when I do the Matrix, you guys remember in the Matrix when the agents were shooting, was it the agents were shooting all the bullets at them? Right? And then Keanu's like, you really have to, hey, no. What I said was, slow down that autopilot. What I said was, I'm going to have a good day. So I'm about to have this good day. Oh, are you having a bad day? Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, is that an insult? Oh, I'm sorry. Was that supposed to, oh, no, I'm going to have a good day. Thank you. It takes practice. It takes exercise, right? Like you really do have to mindful exercise. And somebody said you need to slow down. Absolutely. Slow down your mind. There was a writer by the name of Esroth. I'm destroying his name. I'm not going to even try it, but he's awesome. And he did write the Upanishads. So if you go and search for it, like he's not the original writer of the Upanishads, but Esron, it doesn't matter. I'll remember it and then ask me in the comments in one of my videos and I'll tell you. It's in my library. But he said, Eknath Esron, I think is his name. He said, a fast mind is a sick mind. And when I first read that, I was like, a fast mind is a sick mind. I don't know if I accept that. You know what I mean? I don't know if I accept that because I'm the kind of person where I pride myself in being able to think quickly. Like, I think on my feet. You know what I mean? And when I read that, I thought that he meant that I somehow felt like he was condemning intelligence. I don't know why I took it that way, but I did. I took it that way. And then I realized, no, like, stop being so quick to react to everything. Because when you're doing that, that's a sick mind. A fast mind is a sick mind. And with I feel like every live I do, I'm constantly talking about meditation, but I wouldn't keep talking about it if it wasn't serving me. Right? I don't get anything. He said, in the future, you solve to change. Yes. As someone with HHI to reject that. Good. I don't have anything, you know, like there's no real, like, I'm not getting anything from telling you guys this, except for just knowing that I'm sharing something that works for me. Does that make sense? Right? So when I talk about meditation, I'm not selling you a book on meditation, right? I'm telling you something that has worked for me. It would behoove you to take it into a practice, to get into the practice of meditation, because what it does is, at first I thought it was just a focal exercise, like a focus exercise, right? Like, okay, I'm going to focus on my mantra, and then these thoughts are coming in. I'm going to reject those thoughts, and I'm going to bring them back to what, my mantra is. That's what I thought. That's what I thought it was. And it has slowly evolved into, now I'm actually watching my thoughts. Right? So normally it's like the thoughts are just happening and then I'm just trying to like bring it back to the focus. But now, right now the thoughts are coming in and then I'm actually able to take a step back. I am not my thoughts anymore, right? The thoughts used to be me. Like I would have this thought, right? Or I should more precisely, I would say, this thought would come into my mind. And then I would react to the thought. I would feel the emotion that was loaded in that thought, and then the emotion would become me. Get it? So And these thoughts are not positive thoughts, right? Pause, guys. Pause and just listen. Listen to the voice. Listen to the voice in your head. It's usually just talking shit, right? Like, it's just like, hey, you know the project you have to do tomorrow? Your computer is going to crash, right? Like, it's just like, it's just all these things. Hey, you know, your friend didn't call you. You know why, right? Because they don't want to be friends with you anymore. It's just constant. And before I had learned to slow down my mind, right? I would hear the thoughts. And there wasn't a separation. There was no separation from hearing the thoughts and then the emotional reacting. Does that make sense? Right? There was no separation. And what meditation did was teach me to separate the thoughts and then the emotion. So now I'm watching. Here's this thought. Like, I'm sitting here talking, right? And all of a sudden, like, here comes a thought, right? And with that thought, there's an emotion, right? And then you have the emotion and then it becomes you. And the next thing you know, you're feeling like some type of way and you don't know why. But now with meditation, I hear the thought. I'm still having a hard time to see the negative thoughts. Well, the thoughts are going to come, right? I have been meditating, I would say, for about 2 years, on and off, right? I took it on, got the benefits of it, and then discarded it for some reason, because I guess suffering is better. I don't know. But lately, like within the past year, I've started to do it now so much more. So it's a flesh talking shit to your spirit. True, can happen so fast to react. That's the thing. You guys, you really have to slow it down. Sometimes now, like literally having conversations with me is now sort of annoying to the other person, not to me. I'm good. Because when people would say things to me, I would respond. And now, when a person says something to me, I pause and then I choose my responses, right? I literally will visualize it like a pop-up in my brain. If it helps you guys, do it like this, right? So somebody says something to you. You just respond normally, right? Like that's default human setting, right? Somebody says something, you respond. There's no slowing down. Imagine like in a video game. That's why I love the simulation hypothesis, because like that helps me function, right? So you do have to practice. You have to practice. But I'm telling you, it's worth it. So you're sitting, somebody says something to you. Now pause and literally imagine like a multiple choice. Go A, B, C. Okay. Most people, somebody says something to you, right? It's like, what did you say? Da, 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 da. No. One, you could do nothing, right? Two, you could respond, calmly. Or three, you can respond, like a snarky kind of way or whatever, but you can see the options, right? You should try it. I'm telling you, when you do that, because here's the thing, I've heard it said before, and I'm going to paraphrase it because I can't think of like the exact phrasing, but basically the phrasing is, if you want your future, listen, if you want your future to be different from your past, right? I'll say it again, since we're talking about future influencing your past. If you want your future to be different from your past, you can't keep doing the same shit. That's not quite what I read, but this is Joe saying, okay? This is how I understood it. If you want your future to be different from your past, you can't keep doing the same thing that basically created your past. Does that make sense? Thank you. Does that make sense? You can't keep doing the same thing, okay? So if you constantly react in the same way, right? Somebody says something to you, right? Guess what? Your future is going to be the same as your past because you keep doing the same thing, right? You're essentially the same person. So it's just gonna, situations are gonna happen as they're happening. And I have this theory. I always say that I always like using the terminology of default, right? Because like I said, I subscribe to the simulation hypothesis, so that's fun for me. right? Break the pattern, exactly. So you have a default setting of the human mind. Look around. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. I'll try to put these lives on YouTube. I was thinking about that, so I might do that. But thanks for stopping by. You guys are awesome. Doing the same things, expecting different results is definition of insanity. Exactly. So if you want your future to be different, if you want to get off the path that you're on right now, how about that? So a lot of people in my most recent videos are talking about how, well, they don't like the fact that their life in the present isn't, and I'm going to kind of sidestep a little bit, but they don't like the fact that their life is in the present isn't better than they imagined, right? And so what they say is, well, if my future self is influencing me in the present, then why isn't my life better? Are you listening? Hello? Is this thing on? Because how many times have you, for example, gone and asked for advice, right? For somebody who you trust, right? Right? You say, hey, I'm having a problem here. Can you help me? Right? And they sit and they take time out of their lives. And I know this because I'm that friend that people call and then they ask me for stuff. And then I tell them, this is what I think you should do. And then that friend goes, oh, thank you for spending 2 hours talking to me. I appreciate it. And then a couple of days later, they go, hey, remember that thing that you took 2 hours out of your life to tell me not to do? I did that thing and it didn't work out. And then I'm just sitting there like, why did you talk to me about that then? Because that's 2 hours of my life that I'm not going to get back. Okay. So anyway, if we don't listen to people that we know, like if we don't listen to people that we know better, right? You're not going to listen to yourself. You barely listen to yourself. We're talking about future selves. Do you listen to yourself in the present? Hello? Do you listen to yourself in the present? Do you listen to yourself now? Do you trust your instincts? Do you trust your intuition? How many times have you done stuff and then turned around and said, shit, I should not have done that? Yeah? Yeah, stop giving advice, right? Okay, exactly. So if your future self is trying to communicate with you and you haven't learned to listen, how is it going to help you if you're not listening? Thank you. Let me break this out to you. So my cousin and I were talking. Are you guys familiar with Doge? Because at this point, I'm sure everybody's heard of Doge, like the coin, the Doge coin, that like is worth like what, 25 cents now from like 0.005 cents, right? So my cousin and I were talking about this. I bought some Dogecoin, by the way, so we'll see what happens. It's entertaining. Doge is entertaining to me. I hear you. Doge is entertaining to me. And I didn't throw money that like if I lost all of it, I would be like, oh, I'm screwed. Like I threw some pocket change at it. Just, Elon's tweeting about it. Right. Yeah. I threw some, my cousin. This is his company, so. Anyway, so I bought some Doge back in January, and it was like I said, like I just threw some money. Thank you. I just threw some money at it because I was like, look, if it tanks, then it tanks. If it does well, then I'm gonna get 5K worth. Yo, you know what? I'm not even gonna. Hey, you know what? Who knows? What if it does blow up? This is not financial advice, but I do have some Doge. Now, my cousin and I were talking, and I said to him, I wish I would have gone back. I wish I could have known to buy Doge, like put serious money into it. You know what I mean? Like, because Because if I would have put serious money into it in January, like I would be bawling right now. You know what I mean? Because it was like literally like I bought some when it was like 0.005 cents. Like it was like nothing. And I literally bought like 100,000 Doge, okay? And then like I sold it. And then like, I mean, I made like a little bit, but I sold, but then I bought some more, but I didn't buy enough to like, it would like life-changing kind of stuff, right? And I said, I felt something telling me. You guys have this feeling where you're like, I feel something is telling me to do this, okay? I felt something telling me like, put more money on that. And I was like, no, because I'm a Virgo and I'm too rational, logical, analytical. Like, no, I'm not doing that. And what I said to my cousin, I was like, you know what, it's funny, like, if my future self, if my future self would have shown me, yeah, the freaking owner of the Mavericks is like, yeah, well now, but anyway, if my future self, I'm trying to stay on topic. If my future self would have shown up to me, guys, listen, if my future self would have shown up to me, like in broad daylight, walked up to me and was like, Joe, put like $5,000 in Doge right now, you think I would have listened? Absolutely not. Like, I've been like, this doesn't even sound like me. Like, who is this? Like, this is like, no, like somebody's playing games. No. So we want to talk about how can your future, exactly. Exactly. You want to talk about how can your future influence your past? Well, you have these feelings all the time. Like I said, something told me to buy Doge. I don't know anything about crypto. Like, I still don't know anything about crypto, and I have crypto, right? But something told me to buy it randomly, and I bought it, and I kept kind of feeling like I should buy more, right? That intuition, right? No, well, then you're different, because if my own self would have physically shown up, not just saying like intuitive feelings or a sense or whatever, would have physically shown up and said, put this money on Doge, I would not have listened, because I just would have been like, that's not me. Right? So we're talking about just silent, sort of intuitive feelings that we aren't even like aligned with, let alone like if something was loud and blatant telling you to do something. So it takes practice. So like we've talked about with meditation, that takes practice. Non-reactivity, that takes practice. Learning to listen to your future self, that takes practice. One of the things that I do, this is an exercise that I've been working on, is I actually will try to communicate information to my past self, because I'm the future self of my past self, right? So if there's something that let me say that again, because I know that's kind of hard to wrap your mind around. It was hard for me to wrap my mind around. I actively try to communicate. No, I don't think time is real. I actively try to communicate with my past self in the present, because I am the future self of my past self. Does that make sense? So if there's something that I'm feeling sort of nervous about, once I've experienced that thing, I will then sit for 10, 15 minutes and like meditate on that, and somehow try to tell my past self it's nothing to be worried about. I'm going to say that again, because it's hard. Like even I'm sort of actively trying to do it. There's a boatload of crypto blockchain coming down the pipe that's going to make Doge interesting. You think it would be possible to change a past mistake by communicating with your past life? I don't think you should look at life as things that happen as mistakes. That's another reason why I subscribe to the idea of determinism. I don't think I'm a hard determinist, you know what I mean? But what do you consider a mistake? Right? There's a story that I'm about to destroy in the retelling of it, but try to hear hear what I'm trying to say. Okay, so I read this in a book somewhere. I can't remember the book, but I'll tell you the story. All right, you guys, story time. Okay, there was a guy who had a job interview. And I'm going to re-say this. I'm about to ruin the story. So if you've heard the story before and you're like, that's not how it goes, like, get the general idea of it, okay? So there's a guy who was supposed to get a job, right? He had a job interview in New York, okay? And so he was the breadwinner of his family. He was a professor, and they had called him, and he was basically about to get the job. And he was about to get the job, but all he needed to do was to show up for an in-person interview, right? And so he booked his ticket, was ready to go, got to the airport. All of that was going through security, and something happened, and he got pulled away. And they checked him and everything like that. Long story short, he ended up missing his flight, right? And at the moment when he missed the flight, in his mind, he was like, oh my God, this is like the worst possible thing that could have happened. Because by missing the flight, he would not have been able to make the interview. And there were other people, that could have gotten the job as well. But by him missing the interview, like guaranteed, like the job would have gone to somebody else, and then that was it. And how is he supposed to provide for his family, right? And so he was in his, his feelings and his emotions about that, and he was depressed. And then he went home and turned on the news, right? And he saw that the plane that he was supposed to be on had crashed, right? So in that moment, something that he thought was a bad thing, all of a sudden became a good thing. And I guess the moral of the story, right? The narrative of the story is that things that seem like mistakes, especially when you pause and you look back on, if you need to give it enough space, enough time, right? I don't understand what you're saying. Down, that is on your left hand. You need to give it enough time, right? You need to give it enough space for something before you determine whether or not it was a mistake. Because the way life works, right? So he did end up getting the job after all, but that's not the purpose of the story. But the way life works is that you need to give yourself space and not judge things that are happening in the moment for what they seem like at that moment, right? You have to really, thank you for the roses, you have to really look at time, not as this like linear thing, but as like wibbly wobbly, timey wimey stuff. Okay, no, don't be sorry. But that's why I don't think it's fair to go, okay, I made a mistake. Because life isn't like that. Life isn't structured like that, okay? Getting the job mattered. Well, present self using your past to determine your future. Like a web, time is like this thing. Timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly, not a straight line stuff, okay? So that's why I personally don't believe in mistakes. I personally don't believe in looking back at your life when you are not conscious, when you are not living consciously. I said conscious 3 times in 3 different ways because I want you guys to pay attention to that word. I personally don't believe that you can look back at your life when you are not living consciously, when you are living life in a default setting, right? And just reacting to things and say, hey, you know what? That was a mistake. No, that was what was supposed to happen because that's what happened, right? And some things might seem bad at the time, but given enough time, if you look back on it, it may not be the bad thing or mistake that you thought it was. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Hello, friend. Does that make sense? All right, you guys want to pull me back into whatever topic you want to talk about? Give me questions. Thank you. Okay, good. So, Good. Good. So there are no things that seem like mistakes aren't what they seem like at the time. Just give it enough space. That makes sense. All right. The past is history. The future is a mystery. So stay on top of my present like a Christmas tree. Bad. Do I look at time as a web of choices? I look at time as a film. Slices in a film. So if you, base level, super simple, imagine all of time as something that's already pre-recorded. Can we bring other topics up, or you have, no, you can bring up other topics. Number 1 recommend book of topic of time. Your Brain is a Time Machine is a good book. I don't know if I can recommend one book specifically, but Your Brain is a Time Machine is a good book. I would check that out. It's a fun read. It breaks down eternalism versus presentism, and I would say that we're all eternalists because I'm actually going to do a video about this. I probably will, a TikTok about this, but so we're all eternalists, right? Or most of us are eternalists, because if you believe that time travel is possible, then you have to be an eternalist, because what eternalists believe is that past, present, and future exist right now. And in order for you to travel through time, right, through locations and space-time, like they have to exist for you to travel to them. So if you believe that time travel is possible, if you believe in being able to see into the future, if you believe in, premonitions and all of that, then you would be an eternalist. So somebody asked me, how do I perceive time? And I perceive time as a film. This is a very, very oversimplified version of what I see reality and time to be. And I would say that all of time all the time exists right now. And then the reality experience. So basically, think about you need to separate your consciousness from your body. I'll say that again. You need to separate how you perceive yourself from how you perceive your body. Right? Does that make sense? Most people, when you ask them, who are you? Right? They're going to tell you what they do for a living. They're going to tell you their gender, their ethnicity, right? Where they're from. And it's all focused on what's tangible, on matter, right? But you have to account for consciousness. And the way I see time, and I'm trying to explain this in a way that makes sense. The way I see time is that all of time kind of is laid out, and then your consciousness is what travels through the different bodies that you have on different days. So does that make sense? It's easy to conceptualize. It's harder to discuss, right? Because if you we live in a world that's very materialistic, right? Materialism is the predominant sort of philosophy to explain our reality, right? So like I said, most people, they are Tom or they're Joe or whatever, right? But you can't have things like astral projection. Hold on, these lights are driving me crazy. You can't have things like astral projection, right? Your soul leaving the body and traveling to another world if you are the body. Does that make sense? So if you have to kind of think of your body as a vehicle, right? This body that's fixed at particular points through time, like slices in a movie film. And then it's your consciousness that travels. Does that make sense? It's your consciousness that travels through time. Physical is fixed. Consciousness is what travels. Then it would make sense then when you sleep and you dream, then your consciousness leaves one reality and possibly travels to another one or to other worlds. So you really have to kind of get unstuck from the conception or the perception that you are the face that you see when you look in the mirror. It's just like somebody just said, it's just a vessel. It's just a vehicle. And it's your consciousness that actually travels. So when you go to watch a movie, for example, right? The movie is already sort of pre-written, pre-filmed, right? And then you hit play and it's your consciousness that is experiencing the movie from beginning to end, okay? The story's already laid out, all right? Bandersnatch is awesome because Netflix Bandersnatch is like an offshoot of, what is that show? Black Mirror, where you get to choose your different realities. So that's how I see time. And I've said this in some of my other videos, but I see it as to oversimplify it, I see it as I see life, I see our reality as a pre-programmed, choose your own destiny, right? Type of movie, film, simulation, right? And most people have the default life that they're on, right? And that's mostly, you're gonna live a default life if you are kind of living a default setting in your brain, right? You're reacting to everything, right? So that's essentially what the kind of life you're going to live. Now, there are other realities, right? There are probable futures, but in order for you to experience those futures that are different from the default life that you would normally kind of live, right? You have to change the way you react to things. Remember I said earlier, I don't know how long ago, but I said if you want your future to be different from your past, you're going to have to stop doing the things that got you to your present, right? You have to do different things. Does that make sense? I wish you could record this. I think it is recording this, but that's a good point. And it does record the lives. And I think what I just need to do is, because I have a couple of my lives that are on TikTok, but I need to upload it to my YouTube. So I will do that for you. But yeah, so you have to you have a default life setting, right? How can you tell if a woman is a succubus? Trust your instincts? I don't know. I'm sorry. You have a default life that most people, if you are living a life where you're just going around reacting to things, that's the life you're going to be on. And you can tell what your future is going to be by what your past is. Does that make sense? If you don't change. Does that make sense? So I have the link to my YouTube on my bio. If you want your future to be different from your past, then you have to start changing the way you are in the present. Right? But to kind of tie it all with time, like I said, I perceive reality as a choose your own destiny sort of pre-scripted simulation. And we have our base level sort of lives that we will live. So I told the story earlier about what happened to my eyes, right? And if I kept allowing myself to react emotionally to everything, right, I probably would have ended up on a different sort of default path. And I also started the story telling you guys about how I saw my future self. And if I would have carried down in the particular path that I was on, which was not painting, that would have been my default ending for my life, at least this particular go. So in order for me to get off of that life path that I was on, I had to do something different in the present. And by doing something different in my present, I was able to then change that future experience to something that was not the default setting. Let me know if what I'm saying is making sense. So that's how it helps me perceive sort of life. Is there one sort of, okay, this is absolutely going to be the future? Yes and no. For most people who are living life unconsciously, which is basically me until like a few years ago when I decided to start living with intent and living more consciously, then yes, that was the path that I was on. Does that make sense? It's like, I talk about this in my podcast, it's like probability, right? If I smoke all the time, right? If I'm constantly smoking, what I'm doing is I'm increasing the probability of having a particular outcome in my future of, what comes from smoking often. That perception helps you improve your quality of life, and that's what matters in the end. Exactly. Right. So there is a myriad of probable futures, right? And if your default setting is addiction, and your default setting is like, okay, this is your default life. You're a smoker, and you're going to just keep smoking. And well, at the end of that life, the most probable outcome for the life that you're living right now, I'm going to say it again, the most probable outcome for the life that you're living right now, the most probable outcome for the life you're living right now, right, is going to be determined by what you're doing right now. So if you're not happy with what your life has become up to this point, stop doing it. Do something different. Choose a different probable future. Choose a different reality. And the way you do that is by the choices that you make right now. So if you're smoking, and I'm just using smoking as an example, although you guys shouldn't be smoking, but if you're smoking, right, then the future that you're more likely to experience is one where you kind of suffer the consequences of smoking. But there are other outcomes. Like there are people who smoke their whole lives and that never happened. So it's not guaranteed. There are different probabilities for your consciousness to experience, but you can decrease the likelihood of you having a particular outcome depending on the choices that you make now. Okay? I feel like I beat that nail on the head. Do you ever talk with your unconscious? What are your thoughts on parallel multiple universes? Do I speak with my unconscious? I tried to make myself conscious of my unconscious. So I talked about that earlier. And I talked about meditating. A lot of the time when you sit and you sort of think, it's a lot of negativity. That voice in your head is a lot of negativity that's kind of spewing out from your unconscious. And a lot of people don't pay attention to that. And so your unconscious spits out stuff, right? And then it gives you a feeling of like an emotion, and then you sort of act on that, right? But by meditating, you become more conscious of what your unconscious is doing, and then you can kind of watch it and go, I reject that. Or you can alchemy, like that negative thought comes in, like I said in one of my videos, right? If you can imagine the worst, you can imagine the best. Does that make sense? What are my views on the Bible? What are my thoughts on parallel and multiple universes? I do believe that they exist. And it's not even a matter of, so if you Google D-Wave, they are a quantum computing company. And in order for quantum computers to work, they need to work with parallel universes. So the fact that D-Wave as a company exists, and the fact that Google uses their technology and quantum computing technology, that kind of tells you everything you need to know about parallel universes. Like, it's a thing. Whether or not we can cross-communicate with them, I read books by people who have written about astral projection, and in their experiences, they have been able to not only transfer their consciousness out of this body into a parallel universe, but they've also talked about being able to take on the physical form of their parallel selves. I have not personally consciously done that, but there are people who have claimed to have done so. So yeah, Google D-Wave, guided meditation. So my meditation practice is I just repeat my mantra, and then that's the stick that I give my monkey mind to hold. And so when the Hindus, they call it the monkey mind. So the monkey mind is like, it's just like, oh, let's do this. Oh, what's over there? Like, right? So you give your mind the mantra and it holds it. And then when your mind wants to go here, you consciously bring your mind back to the mantra. And so that's how I meditate. Personally, I have a couple of videos, one video I think where I tell what my mantra is. So yeah. But yeah, D-Wave, I would look into that. Do I mean shifting? No, I think shifting is a different thing than what I'm discussing. But with shifting, you are able to consciously shift to reality experiences that you would rather have. So that is also a thing. And you can do that. And it's fun to look into. So there. All right, guys, I feel like this has been going for a while. And I feel like I should probably go now because I think I'm tired. This takes a lot of energy, because it's like, I'm not complaining because I'm actually happy. Who's the person in the picture, and is it Victorian era? I painted the painting, and she is, it's part of my series. I call it Art from Alternate Timeline, and I imagine what art from the past would have looked like had certain things in our history not happened. And so this is one of my pieces from that series. And her face, thank you. Her face is just a sort of a combination of different features from different people that I've kind of liked, like different eyes that I liked, nose, and I put them all together. So yeah. Yeah, Google D-Wave and read about that. But quantum computing is a thing, guys. There's a quote that says that the future is here now. It is just unevenly distributed. There are things that we are technologically capable of right now that are happening right now, but the masses, the majority of us aren't even wouldn't even be able to wrap our minds around if we were shown what technology actually exists right now. So thank you. I'm happy to be of help. But yeah, I'm feeling drained, guys. I gave you my energy and I need to go eat a cookie or something. But I do appreciate you guys stopping by. I hope it's helpful. I will try to, once this is done, upload it to my YouTube. And I think you can find my YouTube with just look up Jolie Artist. Oh, fun read. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Take cookies, please. Yeah, I'm about to eat some gluten-free cookies. The book that I recommended was called Your Brain is a Time Machine. I would recommend that. It's fun. It talks about eternalism versus determinism. It talks about time travel. It talks about how your brain is a time machine. So I would recommend that you read that. But thank you guys so much for stopping by. It's been great. Thank you. Say hi. Send me send me a DM. I'll try to respond as I can. Thank you. Thank you. I will.